Hey, everybody. We are back. It's another Wednesday night. It's the Relationship Gumbo Podcast Live edition. And we have an extra special show. We got a whole panel tonight. So before we get into that, we are going to make sure that you guys share, invite your friends, share the link. Make sure you get your folks in here because it's going to be a good show tonight. I want you to give me about 30 seconds to make sure everything is popped up like it's supposed to. And I will be right back.
Okay, everybody wants good love, that's true, I know. Derek Jones about to break it down with the Relationship Gumbo. Welcome to the podcast. Ain't no doubt we all need this, ayy, cause better relationships need better ingredients, ayy. So if you want better relations, it's about communication, finding love, staying together. We all wanna make it better, yeah. Derek Jones, the host, your relationship coach. Thank you all for tuning in. Relationship Gumbo, ayy.
Okay, we are back. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, to share, invite, send a carrier pigeon, do whatever you got to do. Make sure you get your folks in here. And I also want you guys to feel free to engage, comment, ask questions, because you are also a part of the show as always. So tonight, the topic is why don't Black women feel protected by Black men? And I'm going to talk about why I decided to do the show when we actually start the podcast. So if you are new to the show, this is also an audio podcast. So this will also be on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Google Podcasts. So I like to give myself 3 seconds. Then after that, I'll start the podcast. And at the end of the podcast, we'll pause for another 3 seconds and we'll get you guys out of here. So without further ado, let's get it going so we can get this, because I feel like this show is going to be a little longer than normal, and that's what we want. We want to be able to get the dialogue out so we can learn some things and hopefully spark some further dialogue, because this is not going to be the last show that we do about this. So here we go. Welcome to another episode of the Relationship Gumbo Podcast. My name is Derek Jones, and I'm your host. I'm a certified life coach, an engineer, a strategist, and a mental health advocate. And also, ladies and gentlemen, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, so make sure that you're checking on your folks. Make sure you're checking on yourself. And if you need to talk to someone, there are places out there that you can actually talk to. And on the next show, I'll have some information that I'll be able to put on the screen and also share in the notes so that you guys can, if you need to talk to someone, you'll have those resources. So just keep that in mind. And not just in the month of May, year round, check on your folks and make sure that you're good. We got some shows. We're going to have some shows coming up this month about, self-care and things like that, just to kind of make sure that we kind of do those checks on ourselves, because it's necessary. So tonight's show, why don't Black women feel protected by Black men? So before I bring my panel up, I just want you guys to understand why I decided to do this. Because when I look online, and I'm in a lot of forums, I consume a whole lot of YouTube videos and different shows, and I listen to what the men say and I listen to what the women say. And a lot of these forums, you hear this statement come out of a lot of Black women's mouths, and they'll say, "We don't feel protected by you." And normally what ends up happening, not every time, but most of the time, when the Black women say that, the Black men say, "What you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. We do protect you." So there's a space in the middle where there's a disconnect, because how can someone not feel protected, but someone feel like they're protecting you? The translation is off. So I wanted to do this show, and what you'll realize is all my guests tonight are I was going to say female, but I know how y'all feel about that word. All of my guests tonight are women. And I did that for a reason, because I wanted to be able to have a forum, at least for this first one. There will be other dialogues. We'll have a men's panel, and we'll also probably have one that is mixed between men and women. But I wanted this first one to be about the ladies and for you to actually hear what this means. And we'll get into the dialogue in a second, but I really wanted to have the forum where there wasn't any pushback, because we see this online all the time. It's just like in communication, active listening. I want us all to listen, to understand, so that we can then have an informed decision on how we're going to work on fixing this thing. So let me bring up my panel, and I will shortly introduce each one of them, and they can kind of say whatever they want to say to introduce themselves in a second here. So here we go. All right. So first, you're on mute, Alicia. We have
Good evening.
The beautiful Mrs. Alicia Dub Jones in the house. Welcome to the show for the first time.
Hello. Hey, how y'all doing tonight?
Hey, on here. So I don't know. Maybe that introduction was fine, but you can tell people what you do or anything you want to say to say hello.
Other than just being your wife, no, this season. But actually, I'm a real estate agent and licensed in the state of Maryland, and I also make chunky blankets. And I kind of consider myself like a housewife, but not really, because I'm not really the housewife type. So that's just who I am. I mean, I stay busy doing something all day long. So
yes,
it just feels good to be here.
Cool. Thanks.
I don't come out often.
Yeah, everybody, I wanted Alicia to be on here because not just because she's my wife, but a lot of the topics that I talk about on the show, we also have this dialogue in our house. And sometimes those conversations are short, and sometimes it's a back and forth. And to the point of this show, I realize as a man that I have some blind spots. Even as intuitive as I am, just being a man growing up in America, there's some things that we mute down and we don't even listen to, and we assume it's a certain way. And then when she tells me this stuff, I'm still like, nah, that can't be that way. That's me not hearing her. So I know if I do that, I know it's a lot of men out here that probably do it too. And that's why I wanted this show to be here, not just for the men to hear, because I know most of my audience aren't men, but hopefully you can forward this to somebody you know so that they can get a better idea of what this really looks like when we're out here encountering our women. So next we have LA Lex, friend to the show. She's been on the show many times. She's back, and we always value her opinion. I wanted this panel to be a panel of women that I knew wouldn't hold any punches and just be honest about it. So she definitely is the one. What's up, Lex?
Hey,
welcome back.
Hey, thanks for having me back, Coach Jay. Hey, Alicia. Hey, Erica.
Hey, Lex.
I mean, I wear many hats. I'm a business manager, a brand manager, a therapist, a shit talker.
We got the same job title.
You know, it's always great to be back. I really love being here.
Yeah,
so
we definitely gonna like I told you guys before the show, we just gonna talk. Like, this is not super scripted, but I definitely want to just have this dialogue. So last but not least, we have Erica, Coach Erica. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Hey, ladies.
Hey.
My name is Erica Warren. I am a life coach, virtual women's life coach, and I specialize in self-love, life purpose, dating, and breakup recovery. I'm also a 3-time best-selling author and a co-host of the Dope Discussions with Erica podcast.
Cool. And Erica, Erica is probably one of the best people. Like, if you guys are online dating or you trying to figure out how to maneuver this thing, that's your girl right there. She does it. She's doing it now herself, but she's a very good with boundaries. We talk a lot and she knows how to bob and weave. So if any of you ladies need some help in that area, hit her up. Everybody's information will be in the show notes of the show. So if you wanted to contact them, you also can do it that way. So let's get this thing going. So the show is about Black women not feeling protected by Black men. So what I wanted first is to just briefly, like a yes or no answer from all of you. Do you guys all feel like Black women are not being protected in mass? Because I know that there are some men that do it, but in mass, do you think Black women are protected by Black men? Alicia?
No.
Lexi?
No.
Erica?
Nope.
So with that being, and the reason why I wanted to do that.
How about you, Coach? How about you? How about you?
You know what? I'm going to say that as a man, I'm going to say no. In mass, no. And I know that there's a lot of nuance behind that. Thank you, Lexi, for that. There's a lot of nuance behind that. And we'll get into a little bit of it tonight. But yeah, I don't think so either as a whole. I don't even think the respect is even there for a lot of reasons. And we go back and forth with disrespecting each other. But tonight it's not about, I really want everybody to hear you ladies. So I guess we could start. I'm going to start with Lex. Do you, yeah, we're going to start with you. Do you, and I just want you to, you know, if it doesn't apply, it doesn't apply. Do you have any, and I'm sure all of you probably have several, but are there any instances that stick out in your mind where you were kind of just moving about and just didn't feel like Black men didn't have your back, or a man that you were dealing with, or even just walking out in the street feeling uncomfortable? I know that's loaded.
So I have been disrespected by actually a family member. But the way I move about when it comes to men and how I was brought up is my dad instilled in his daughters, his nieces, that if we don't get respect, we demand it or keep it moving, whether it's from a man, a woman, etc. So I had really great male role models, but I do still have great male role models in my life. You as one of them. They pour out respect, especially when it comes to myself and my siblings. But I will say one instance that kind of stuck out just recently, probably about 3 or 4 months ago. I was kind of struggling with some things personally as a woman. And we as women, you know, especially during COVID, you know, I kind of start feeling down. Like, I was like, dang, I ain't put on makeup in a while. I ain't putting hair, you know, I change all the time. So I was at a family event, and I don't know if I made my relative uncomfortable or intimidated, but I was kind of having a moment with some siblings, and kind of the spotlight was on me in the sense of everybody. I was talking and they were in tune and they were kind of ignoring him. And he snatched my wig off my head.
Wow.
In front of everyone. And one, I was embarrassed. Well, first my reflex was like, I punched him, where I just started swinging. Because one, you put your hands on me. Two, and then I was embarrassed. Not saying that I'm not bald under here. I have hair, but it was the first time that I actually put on some makeup and dressed up in a long time, and I was feeling good about myself. So when he snatched my wig off again, I was embarrassed. I was defending myself. I went in straight, ready to knock him out, and then I was hurt. And I started crying. Like my sister said, you handled that very well, because I started crying. And I mean, I don't know if it was because I was embarrassed or I could not believe this man just snatched my wig off my head. Everyone knows that you do not touch a Black woman's head, you know? Yeah. So when he snatched it, I picked up my unit, because we don't just call them wigs, we call them units. Yeah. I picked up my unit, and I said, you know what? I'm out. That's my key. But then I started crying, and my sister was still there, and she said that, you know, some of the comics were, well, she need to stop trying to look like a white woman, or she need to stop trying. It was that, because it was blonde hair, and I don't know where this thing where people think that only white folks wear wigs, but anyway, or people that don't have any hair just wear wigs. Not true. And when she told me that, I got myself together. I was like, hold up, you lax, you don't walk away. I came back and I said, you hurt me. I said it in front of everyone. I'm like, you know, you guys think this is funny. You hurt me. You embarrassed me. And that was very disrespectful. Why would you do that? And the point I'm trying to make is, he said, well, I thought I was being funny because, now we're talking about a 50-year-old man. I thought I was being funny because my dad used to do it to my mom. I said to him, and how did that make her feel? Did you ever ask her, how did she feel? And he looked at it. He was like, no, I ain't never asked her. I said, he was mean to her. It was disrespectful. And I bet she was very embarrassed and went and cried. That's not funny. That's not funny. And when he said, my dad used to do it. So if you knew your mom was crying or etc., why would you do that to someone else? You were intimidated, one, you felt insecure, and you saw this happen 40 years ago when your dad did it to your mom.
Right.
That was it. And I'm like, you don't ever touch a woman. Why would you want to embarrass your woman or a woman? That was very mean. And for the record, so you won't get your ass kicked, don't ever touch a Black woman's head. You know that. So just saying, you know, my dad used to do it. That was like, that's where it stems from. That's where it stems from.
Yeah, and I'm gonna interject real quick with that too, because a lot of the stuff that, and I'm not gonna say all men, but a lot of stuff that a lot of men do is learned behavior, or it's normalized behavior, and you do it because you think that you're going to get some kind of pat on the back or kudos from your boys or whatever. Show of hands, how many, and I already know the answer, but I just want people to see. Show of hands, how many of you have witnessed situations where there was a group of guys or a guy did something to a woman in public just to embarrass her so that everybody could laugh? Right. And that, when we talk about protection, it's not like, a lot of times when I see online, when we hear the word protection, men automatically think, am I going to fight somebody for you? Or am I going to beat somebody up? And it goes a lot deeper than that. And this is stuff that even I had to learn. Like, when I say even I, because I feel like I'm a lot more in tune as far as like emotional intelligence than like most of my peers. So even I had a blind spot with some of this stuff, because growing up, a lot of this behavior was so normalized that even if a woman said I didn't like it, it kind of just, it blows past, because it's like, haha, what are you talking about? Like, you get over it. You got your wig back, or because I believe, this is my belief, to some extent, even though we know a lot of times women tend to be more emotional, we still want to treat you like you're built like we are. If that makes sense. We don't have the empathy or the not that we have to feel sorry for you, but it's like, suck it up. And it's like, wait, that's a woman. That's not what you do. And so I was going to get into something else, but I'm just going to go around. So Erica, you're next. Was there a situation, or is there something that's a gripe that you have that just pisses you off, that where it falls under the category of not feeling protected?
Yeah, well, I just kind of wanted to speak to what Lex just said, and the all of the problems with that situation. For one, he's a 50-year-old man. And you're sitting here telling me that this is something that you saw your dad do, and you think at a 50 years old, it's okay for your 50-year-old ass to do it now. So you're telling me from for 40 years of your life, you have not learned anything in those 40 years to understand that that was wrong? That's the sad part about the normalization of this stuff, and that's how deep it goes. And that's why we are talking about this today. It's because, you know, of the normalization of it, of the objectification. That in that situation, she was objectified as somebody else's entertainment. I didn't see her as a person. I just saw her as an object that I could use to get a reaction. And that's how we feel a lot of times when we're in those type of situations. I can recall from a young girl all the way up until some of the stuff now is still so deeply ingrained in me. I just do it from muscle memory. But as a young girl, remembering how I used to hate when my body started to develop and I was getting hips and butt, because I knew that was going to get me the kind of attention that I didn't want from men. And I used to get so anxious and nervous walking past a group of men because I was going to hear the ooh and the smacking of the teeth and you fine and all this stuff from old men who just make my skin crawl. And nobody had a thought to think that this young girl doesn't want this kind of attention. This is probably bothering her. This is probably scaring her. And so now as a grown woman, I still avoid groups of men when I go certain places because I don't want to hear the comments.
Right.
And, you know, and they're standing around, all of them are egging each other on, and it's all to get a reaction from the other guys in the group, and it's to look good, and it's to stand out, and it's to be respected at the expense of a woman who you don't see as a human being.
Yeah. And the part that sticks out for me as a man, and I've never been the catcalling in the group type of, you know, I never did that. But the part that sticks out to me, what you said, was having the hesitancy, the anxiety, or the fear to go into an environment where you knew that you automatically was going to get disrespected or just treated in a way. And by and large, men will never know what that feels like. And so when men do that because it's cool to do around your boys, so here's another piece. I'm thinking about like 50 things at once, because me and Alicia had a conversation about this like several times this week about how men, not all, but men will die for their mama, their sister, their cousin. But when they see another woman out and they doing all of this stuff, it's like all of that shuts off. Like you're not somebody else's kid or sister or mother or daughter or whatever. And that's the part of the dysfunctional socialization of this behavior, because we are bred differently. Women from a little girl, well, I don't know what they teaching the little ones now, but back in the day, you were raised to hopefully find a husband one day, or, meet a great guy and do all of this. Men are taught to conquer you and be predatory, and not taught, but just this is what's the socialization. So if what I'm saying is true, then there's always going to be a collision, because we're not going towards the same goal. Eventually, some men will pop out of that and say, okay, I want to follow that mode of being in that relationship. But that bucks our programming. Like we're supposed to get as many of you as possible. That's the goal. If we're out getting as many of you as possible and you're just looking for one, there's no way it works. And especially if there's no respect, especially if I'm looking at you as something to conquer, then snatching your wig off or calling you something in the street means nothing to me. It means absolutely, even if you was crying tears, I'd still be laughing at you because it means nothing to me. Mm-hmm. And that's a horrible thought when it comes to, you know, why Erica does what she does and what I do is we want people to get together. We want people to have amazing relationships with each other and build on that. And hearing all of these stories from these women that I see online, hearing you guys' stories now, it's disheartening because if we continue to raise our boys to not care about you, what does that look like? What does that look like? Because now you have kids that don't even want to be bothered with even dating or being in a relationship. So it's like, once you go there, what's next?
Right.
Like if we all hate each other, the baby's gonna be born in a test tube now because it doesn't make any sense. It is hurtful. And like I said, as a man, I have blind spots, and that's why I always like to have dialogue with women because I want to understand. And hopefully, you know, by this show, people will share it out. And then when I talk to men, I can say, no, this is what they mean, because maybe you got a blind spot too. So Alicia, for you, I want you to talk about, because I already know you protected. So just talk about either A, an experience you had, or B, something that just gets under your skin where you know, as far as friends or just walking outside where you just don't feel protected.
So the first thing I wanted to say, just to kind of tie in what you were talking about with men, protecting the mothers, the children, you know, their sisters, but not connecting us. That disconnect, it has disconnected us in completing the community link. So like, imagine if we really did, as en masse, get along, and we really did just kind of like look out for each other, and we really were there, then the people that weren't doing that would be outcasts, and we would literally thrive. But we can't do that. So anyway, that's just my little thing about that. But what I will say, I'm going to take it back to when I was single and when I was dating and when I was out there, not like out there, because I was never like out there.
Hold on, let me clarify, because you know I say this on my show way back in the day.
I'm gonna tell you a specific event that took place. I went to high school with Tank and graduated together. And he did a show at DC Tunnel. I know, Erica, you may not know. Lexi, you may not know. DC Tunnel was a club in DC, in Northeast DC, near North Capitol and Bladensburg Road. Like it was over in the hood, right? And so I was dating this guy. You know, I used to be his girlfriend in middle school, and we kind of reconnected when we were in college. So I was bold. I didn't care about going out by myself because I knew a lot of the people. I knew what was out there. So this one particular night I went to the club by myself, and there was a line of guys, and this MFer like literally took his hand and smacked me so hard on my ass.
Wow.
And I literally took everything in me and I punched the schlitz out of his chest. And the part that was so discouraging was that he was calling me all types of B's. The security guard was right there and he didn't do anything. He laughed it off. And other dudes were like snickering and doing their thing. So
wow.
Now I had a good night after that. You know, I was like, I'm not gonna let this ish bother me because of course the line was long. I was young and dumb. I was pissed, but I was like, I'm not getting out this line to go home. Like I'm going in. I'm gonna holler at Darrell real quick. Let them sing Maybe I Deserve or something. And then, you know, we ended up hanging out in the VIP room and we had a ball, you know. But what really set me off even beyond that was when I told the guy that I was dating this story, and I cursed him out. And I told him that I cursed him out. He stopped talking to me because he didn't like the fact that I used curse words to the guy. Mm-hmm. He never addressed the issue of the fact that the dude spanked me like a child on my ass. He never consoled me. He never did any of this stuff. And that is what did it for me. I think that sent me straight into independent mode. I'm just gonna do me, and I don't trust y'all. Like it's always a combination of things that happen. It's a reason why I was independent. I didn't start out being independent. Right. I was raised in a 2-parent household where my father was my protector. I didn't feel unprotected until I became a teenager, when I wasn't telling them stuff, and when I was going out and meeting guys and getting in relationships. And back then it really was relationships, it wasn't situationships. You really did have like a title for a couple weeks. Right. But anyway, that really did it for me. And it was a lot of things, because I was partying at 15. I was a good girl until my 20s, and I'll just leave it there. But I did start partying at 15, and I was out there. So dudes would try, and I wasn't even a skanky dresser. Like, I mean, even if you're a skanky dresser, you shouldn't be treated like that at all. But I probably had on some tight jeans and maybe some Parasucos and like a cute top and some heels. It wasn't anything crazy. So the audacity, the balls, like that just totally like pissed me all the way off. And I'm like, back then I had knives in the car and stuff. Like, as much as I was like, I wish I knew where this MF's car was so I could slash his tire. Like, I was hot. That's the Gemini in me. Okay, I digress. But that's it, y'all. That sent me over.
So that makes me think of, I'm starting to see like a common thread. I'm seeing that as young girls, we've been raised to get a man, to compete for men. So we've been raised to compete against each other, while men has formed this toxic brotherhood of, I didn't see nothing, I ain't gonna say nothing. That's y'all business. And so I see that being the umbrella that's causing this big issue, where women are competing against each other for men, and men are like, hey, I got my pick of the litter, it's on y'all to come and get me. And I got to protect y'all, because y'all got to prove yourself to me. Y'all want one of us. We ain't trying to get one of y'all. Y'all trying to get one of us.
And then there were several women that let them get away with it, and it was okay. And I think that built up over time. In the beginning, it was like, oh, if you were doing that, you were a straight up skank, right? There was like a certain amount of skanks, like it was a small number. And now it's just off the chain. Like, so many women literally like don't care. It's just whatever.
And it seems like the men have just grouped us all into that category. Like, y'all are competing for us. So I'm not going to say which one of y'all deserve respect, which one of y'all don't deserve respect, until you prove to me you deserve respect.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to piggyback on that too, and it's another even darker topic that I want to touch next, but I think, like, as a woman, you go through so many of these experiences, or seeing the experiences, and then you get into a situation where you're dating, or you get into a relationship, and now you got to trust, right? You're supposed to be able to trust this dude that looks like all of the ones that's done the damage, and hope for the best. And that's the part that, and also that it's just like how we feel about the police. Right? Police are out here doing whatever they're doing, and they'll say it's a bad apple, but then all the other police around them are allowing it to happen. And it's the same thing that happens with men. Is we'll see that dude snatch the wig, and ain't nobody checking him. They laughing with him. We out at, Alicia out at the club. I always tell this story about when I went to college for the first year in Baltimore, and I went to one of my first real like clubs, because I was real, like I was a super innocent dude back then. And I went to my first real club, And it shocked the living daylights out of me because I still, I was a late bloomer, so I still was like, cherishing, women and oh my God, she's beautiful and all of that, right? I'm going in a club and it's like they build like a lane
All colors.
for the women to walk through to get to one side of the club to the other. So it's all guys on both sides. And as you walking through, they grabbing each girl's butt. And the whole premise of it was when you turned around to see who it was, it's 100 dudes. So who do you get mad at? So the only thing you can do is keep walking. And they just kept doing it. Security didn't give a damn. All of the boys, men, or whatever that was in those rows didn't give a damn.
They weren't going to tell on each other.
I would say percentage-wise, maybe 10% of all the women that went through liked it or pretended to like it. Because how dare you get mad, right? And you can see the pain on these women's faces as they walk through. And this was normal behavior for this club every week. Like I didn't go back just because I thought the club was whack, but I was in shock that was cool for all of them. And like I said before, when this behavior gets normalized, when the friends of the guy don't check him, even if they're not doing it, if you accept it, you'd also become the picture of what that woman, like these women now are looking at hundreds of guys and they're saying, fuck all of y'all. Because nobody said or tried to stop anything. And now this woman has to go home. She's eventually going to be somebody's mom one day, somebody's girlfriend, somebody's wife, and she's got to trust. She's got to hope that she don't run into one of these dudes or whatever it is on the street. And that's what we mean by, slightly what we mean by.
Alicia, we would have been tight back in the day.
Thick as thieves, because I was going out 4 or 5 nights a week.
So it's people don't realize what that does to the psyche. What it does to the psyche of a human, right? Because we know men, go through things too, but we're not talking about the men tonight. When your psyche is, Lexi's gonna come back. I think she was freezing. What happens to your psyche when you have to and you would want to trust that the men that are the same color as you would have your back, and you don't know. In any environment you go into, a grocery store, a club, you don't know. So what is your recourse over your life? Is you have to be your own protector.
Yeah.
You have to be strong, right? That thing that men say they hate, but also are part of
creating
it.
Yeah.
They helped us get this way and then criticize us and crucify us for being this way. And as soon as we lay that armor down and trust you to pick it up, you drop the ball.
Yeah. Yeah. And I did want to touch on this one topic that keeps coming up too. And we're gonna, I'm trying to make sure that I catch everything I need to catch tonight, because we're not gonna be on here for 6 hours. So I'm trying to make sure I get everything in, because we literally could, like, this is not a small topic. I want to touch on one second here, guys. Yeah. I want to touch on women and abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, even from being a child. even from being in a relationship where you're abused, and especially children. How does that inform how you even view other Black men as you grow into a woman? And to try to feel protected. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with Erica. I'm trying to be, does this ring true in your lifetime, in your circles? Could be personal, but I don't want to,
Yeah.
From what you've seen or experienced, like the gravity of it. And before you do that, I was on, hold on one second. Lexi's back again. There was a statistic that I was on the show a few days ago where they were saying that 80% of women reported between the ages of 12 and 25 have had some type of sexual assault in their life between 12 and 25, and that's just reported. So the number's probably way higher than that. So if that's true, men, that means most women that you meet on the street have had something done to them. And I think as a man, number one, we don't think about it. Number two, we shouldn't have to think about it because we should be respecting you anyway, right? So Erica, I'm going to put it back to you to just kind of tell me about, I don't know, something that like when I say abuse in that way, how does that trigger your mind to think about like how you've either seen women show up or even how you may have shown up?
So I think that our Black culture has cultivated an environment where we protect a lot of the abusers in our family, and we crucify the person who had the nerve to speak out against them. And so a lot of Black girls are raised up in the abuse, but they never say anything because either they believe nobody's going to believe them or they're going to be blamed for it. I saw that myself personally. My grandmother, when she divorced my grandfather, she remarried this man. And me and my cousins, we all used to love to go spend the nights with her. And so when we would go spend the nights with her husband, some nights in the middle of the night, we would just wake up and find him standing over us, staring at us. And, a lot of those child molesters, they start out testing you. They'll do one little thing to see if you're not going to tell about that. Then they'll push and do more and more until they're full blown molesting you. And so that's how he would do. He would start out doing little things here and little things there. But he never, physically touched us, because I'll remember this one incident when I was in my grandmother's kitchen. He came up behind me and he like brushed his body up against mine. And I grabbed the knife out of my grandmother's drawer, and I turned around and I told him if he ever touched me like that again, I'll stab him. But me and my cousins would always talk about it because she would tell me separate stories about him doing stuff to her. So we said we was going to get brave enough and tell our grandmother what was going on. So when we finally did get up the courage to tell her about it, she told us we was lying. We was making that up. And it's just crazy that girls don't feel like they have a safe place to go and talk about that and even be believed. And so years and years later, I was 40 years old. Me and my mama was having a conversation one time, and she asked me out of the blue, she said, when y'all used to go and stay with your grandmother, did her husband ever try to touch y'all? And I was like, yeah. And she said, I remember when I stayed with my mom right after I left your dad, and he stood over my bed when I was staying there too. And I was like,
Creepy.
why would you ever let your child go stay in that house when you knew he had those kind of, you know, intentions anyway?
Mm-hmm.
So that's just the craziness of what we're raised in. So those numbers, the 80%, I would say those are higher, way
Yeah,
higher,
absolutely.
way higher. And so that's where the feeling of not being protected begins. And then it just goes through your life. It just carries on in all situations to where in my 20s, I just gave over to the fact that my value is in my sexuality. My value is in my body. That's all people value about me. So I may as well use it to my advantage and not let everybody else use it to theirs. And that's when I went through my promiscuous period where I felt powerful because I had something that I could use, a tool that I could use to get love and affection from men, or I could take it away from them when I didn't feel like I was getting what I wanted out of the situation. And so that's why when we see women who are being promiscuous and sexually out there, we judge the behavior, but we don't know the root of where it's coming from.
Yeah, I'm gonna hold what I have to say a little later. Lexi, you have anything you want to add to that? I know your phone is kind of skipping a little bit.
Uh-oh.
If you're talking, Lex, I can't hear you.
Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yep.
Now we can.
No, yes. Oh my God, I am
Yes.
talking. Can you hear me?
Yep. Just talk.
Okay.
The video is choppy, but the audio is coming through.
Okay. I want to say, as I got older, I didn't realize how I was so relatable with other women when it came to sexual abuse or molestation. Um, it was okay to, as I got
It's breaking up a little bit.
Yeah, she froze again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So while we waiting on her to
and
oh, there she go. Okay.
I understand. Hear me? I'm sorry. I said when I was young. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a ghost in here.
Yeah, this is much better. Whatever you just did.
Got closer to the door. What I was what I was saying was, I didn't realize as I got older how many women we shared the same stories. We were similar because I too was molested when I was younger, and leave you or how many my story helped other people. But I also realized how it affected me mentally, and it affected my relationships. And it got to the point where men in my relationships didn't understand why I wasn't so affectionate, because those rights were stripped from me when I was younger. So everyone think when you were young, when I was growing up, sex was a bad thing. And for someone to take that from me at a young age, it affected all my relationships. My emotions, my, being intimate with someone, because I viewed it as being nasty. I viewed it as being someone took advantage and just violating me. I didn't feel protected. I felt like my parents didn't protect me when I was younger. I felt like my father didn't protect me when I was younger because all of this happened to me. So, I don't, it stems from that. It stems from women are told to be quiet, or don't tell anyone. And it's all within the household. It's an uncle, a creepy stepfather, a cousin, etc. 9 times out of 10, so when a child is take sexual abuse, it happened from that family. So a lot of people don't understand why I'm like this, very emotionless, or I feel like not so much, well, I would say independent. Like I don't feel protected by any man, should I say that. They have to prove themselves to me. And it stemmed from a young age. So as I get older, I talk to women and say, hey, it's okay to talk about it. Don't be embarrassed about it, because you were a child. It's okay to talk about it. It's okay. Now I understand why women sometimes, and not saying agreeing with it, that they emasculate men, but they emasculate men that are rude and disrespectful. And I get real hood when a man disrespects me. I be thinking I'm about 10 times bigger than them and can take on. So I understand why women do feel that way, but I cannot wait for my Prince Charming to come and just tell me to relax, I got you. There are some times where my son, he's 24, 6'1", he can look at me and he can sense that I'm scared or timid, and he would put his hand on my shoulder and said, Ma, I got you. He sees that. So if my son sees that, why is it that another man can't see that I'm timid and step up? Why they can't, see that? So
right.
Yeah. It when I think back over my own life, and a lot of times, because we're all from the same country, and sometimes in a lot of cases from the same city, a lot of our experiences are same. Like, I'm talking about men now, right? When I look over my life, there's been a lot of women that even told me that they were abused, right? Most, right? Or that they've been through something. And I also look at how, when Erica talked about how the behavior shows up differently, how you talked about the behavior shows up, and what you said, Lexi, about the need to be in control. And then as a man who may not be able to identify with any of that, number one, because you probably didn't tell him, because obvious reasons, he's looking at you like you crazy. He's looking at you like, why you tripping? On the other hand, we bathe in the fact that we can get all of this sex, and we can do all of this stuff and be disrespectful, take advantage. And because you are emotionally numb, you accept it. And so we think that it's cool. And there's never a time when that man says something don't feel right.
Nope.
And that's how we're programmed. Take. And we'll worry about the rest later. And women, through trying to be in control, because I've met, like, when I say met, not always necessarily like me dating, but I've talked to a lot of women who say, I can just have sex and not care. I can do it and I use it, to get what I want, and all of these other type of things, right? And we talk about women that do that. We talk about, and there's a multitude of reasons, but women that we call gold diggers. It's all about being in control of the man. And we never look at why that woman needs to be in control. Because the man is supposed to be the protector. He's supposed to be the strong one. Why does that woman feel a need to make sure that she's in control of that so much? And I'm thinking about stuff where, we've all seen, women that are super, super promiscuous, right? And then we say, oh, she's a hoe or all this and that. And we'll label them and we'll, dismiss them and do all of this other kind of stuff. But we never asked the question. I was telling Alicia that I had met this young lady way back in the day that was a friend of one of the people that I was dating. And she was extremely promiscuous. It was scarily so, right? Like being drunk and waking up and not knowing who you was next to, or being drunk and going home with one dude and waking up with another dude and just shrugging it off and not knowing, where she was and how she was going to get home. And it was happening a lot. And I was like, and as a man, like we know promiscuous people, but I was like, this is scarily like, and I'm like, one time I had to go rescue her from a restaurant because she called me, I guess, because I'm a man or whatever. And she was like, can you please come get me? Because I don't know how I got here. And I'm just like, but over time, I realized that she was assaulted when she was younger. And like when she was in college, she was assaulted by like 5 dudes at once.
Oh, wow.
And so the behavior bared out past that.
Yeah.
So we never know. This is my point.
Yeah.
It's a life lesson. You never know what people have been through. And we are quick to label someone a hoe. We're quick to label someone this. Like, as men, we have power too. We don't have to take everything that's offered to us. Right? Because it don't feel right. Yeah. But we do it because that's what we're taught to conquer. Right. We're taught to take as many as we need, as many as we can handle. How many numbers you got? You only got 5. I got 7. You better catch up, get 2 more. Did you hit that? Count? How long it's gonna take you to hit that, man? It's been 2 days. What you doing? Hurry up. And then even if you didn't feel comfortable, you like, man, I guess I better do it. I'm not gonna get the pat on the back from my boys. So let me go ahead and conquer.
I go into teacher mode when a man holler out at me or being real disrespectful. I'll stop and be like, now what if I was your daughter or your mother?
We don't even think about that. That's the problem.
I don't think about that.
But 9 times out of 10, when I do that, they'd be like, you right, sis, I'm so sorry. They kind of catch it like,
right.
Oh, I'm so sorry, sis. Or, I never met a guy that kind of brushed me off and was like, whatever. They apologize. You just got to hold them accountable for it in a sense. It's just,
to me, it's wondrous to try to figure out at what age does a man rise above peer pressure, and it's like, dude, I don't care what you say. I don't have to do that. I don't need to impress you.
Yeah,
that's the men we looking for. I don't want to marry somebody who's a part of some stupid boys club. That's foolishness. And I had another point I wanted to make, Derek. I feel like it also shows up when we see the women who like the quote unquote bad boys, the thugs, the drug dealers, the gangsters, because in some way, all the while she's been feeling unprotected, that represents some type of protection to her, because he's like, I don't care about nobody. Nope. If you're a part of my circle, you're a part of my clique, I'm protecting you. And women who have felt unprotected all their life gravitate toward
men like that,
the energy, that type of man, and that was me.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know me and my girlfriend and even my sister was having a conversation, because I asked them, why they don't feel protected by Black men. And they was like, no, I don't. And one of my girlfriends and my sister, they pointed out, and they were like, it started way back during slavery. Men rights were stripped away from them. So, they went there to protect their women, in the sense of they would see their women getting raped, beat by slave owners, sold off, and there was nothing that they could really do. whereas, you know, some women, they had to be strong because while the men were either being sold or at work or etc., they were taking care of the household and trying to be the head of the household while these men were out and being treated like dogs. You know, one of the sayings is, you know, Black women are the worst treated creatures in this entire world. That's creatures. So like animals are treated better than we are.
Mm-hmm.
Especially dogs.
Especially dogs.
Ooh, don't talk about that, baby.
So it's like, you know, who's gonna break that psyche? Are we waiting for this generation now that turns to social media and thinks that it's like showing my ass and flashing money and having all the women, and you know, who is going to break that cycle?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to ever happen.
It's not. It's actually going to get worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always tease Derek all the time. I said, I really feel bad for us because these people are going to be our doctors and our lawyers and our caretakers when we get older. I'm like, just send me to Jamaica and let me die on the beach. I can't. These kids are out of control at 12.
Yeah,
you know,
I
so.
mean, older people are saying they'd rather just be taken out because they don't want these kids now to. These are supposed to be our leaders, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So who is going to break that? Who? Because we normalize this behavior.
Yeah. And then we created the bad B generation, the boss chick generation, who, you know, don't need no man for
exactly for anything.
And
all my women independent.
Yeah, it was cool when it started out, but it has snowballed and it's a monster now because there are so many single women who have reached the pinnacle of success in their careers, but they are miserable and lonely in their romantic life because of that independent woman era that just snowballed and took off.
Yeah.
So, Alicia, do you have anything else to add to that? Because I have maybe two little other things. Because I don't, I know y'all guys have a bedtime and all that. So,
I honestly, y'all have said enough to make my jaws fall to the floor. But so you can go ahead and move on, babe. I mean, I've been in a blessed situation where I didn't have. I had a father and I had 4 tall, over 6 feet tall uncles. One who was like the head marshal of the United States for a while, and I felt protected up until I became an adult. So I don't have that same story, but I have a lot of friends who have gone through stuff. I used to like be jealous of my friends who lived in single parent homes because they used to get away with murder. Like they used to be able to hang out all night and talk on the phone all night, which was a big thing back then, So all the things that I couldn't do because my parents were kind of strict a little bit or fake strict, they were able to get away with. So I used to stay the night over there as much as I could, like over my friends' houses as much as I could. Yeah. So I did witness, living in one parent household, people living in one parent households and in and out of relationships with friends, parents and friends and boyfriend, girlfriend stuff. And I've seen a lot with that, but not first generation, no.
Well, I bet you appreciate the structure as you got older.
I appreciate it when I got older.
Yeah.
We'll leave it
there. So that I want to segue into single mothers. Who raise boys?
Baby boy syndrome.
Not so much that. So what I'm going to say is just my perception. So I want you guys to help me out with this. But I feel like we talk about strong black women who are single mothers, however it happened, right? And how those boys have to see you. Because now you have to take on a role that you normally wouldn't have to. And if they have to see you with that strength that I would think would normally come from the father, how do they look at women once they're out in the world as far as respect? Like, I know it doesn't happen. You know, there's a lot of women who have did their thing, and they have some amazing sons. But I feel like there's a lot of men out here that's grown that have no respect because they never saw their mom as as feminine, soft. I have to protect, So now when they're out here and these women are out here, they're like, man, let me go ahead and snatch your wig off and laugh at you, because they don't have that. They don't have that bar. Yeah. So whoever wants to chime in, I saw Alexis saying some stuff.
Well, so I am a single parent. I raised a young man. He's 24. And it was me and him. I had him when I was in high school. And I come from a product where we don't. So I like to say I was born in survival mode, right? When I was born, I was in survival mode, and all I knew how to do was to survive. But when I was raising my son, I wanted to be the complete opposite. I didn't want him to feel that because he didn't have his father in the picture that he was less than, or things are going to be different in a household, meaning I'm going to let him get away with murder, or care to his needs to where I'm overcompensating because he didn't have a father. He got his ass whipped. He didn't have everything. When I wanted good grades, I required good grades. I showed up at every basketball game. I mean, I was even his basketball coach. I showed up to baseball games. You would think he came from a 2-parent home in a sense. Now, and I talked to him. I didn't just beat him or rewarded bad behavior. I spoke to him, and I instilled, if you don't like something, say it. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to get your way all the time. If you don't want to go somewhere, don't cry and pout about it, or lie about it, or don't show up after school because you're going to this place. Tell me why you don't want to go. It could be that somebody's over there picking with you if I send you somewhere. It could be that you just don't want to go. And I understand that. Converse with me. Let me know how you feel. You earned things. If you wanted some new shoes, you had chores. It wasn't a woman has to clean the bathroom or this and that. You did chores. You folded clothes. You took out one thing was the trash. You better take that trash out every day. I better not have to lift trash. And as he got older, his girlfriend would say, you raised a really, a good man. Like, he is so protective of his girl. And this is just a girlfriend. So I can imagine, his wife. He said, he'll say, well, Ma, let me check with my girlfriend just to make sure it's okay with her. And I'm like, dude, this ain't your wife. Sometimes I'll be like, dang, I wish, you could dog her a little bit, but then I'm like, no, I don't want you to do that. I don't want you to be a womanizer, But he is so, and I'm not tooting my own horn, but he is so respectful. He opened doors. He walks behind me. He walks behind women. He doesn't, walk ahead. He opens my door. He'll come to my house. The first thing he go is look at the trash to make sure the trash was empty, So I don't want to make an excuse to where there's like, oh, well, he came from a single parent household. No.
But they had those. I don't know what the technical term is, but I see it online all the time where women will have their kid. They call it a son husband. Where they went.
Right. I've heard of that. I've heard of it, and look, I don't want my son to be my husband. That's too creepy. I just want him to be, he's a product of me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I don't want, he's a product of my family. I don't want him out here, oh, well, I seen your son out there fighting a woman. What did you teach him? Or I seen, your son out there wearing his pants off his behind. What did you teach him? To this day, he's taller than me, but I'm like, I would step on a step stool or a chair, and I'm like, you could fall. The taller you are, the harder you can fall, sir.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so and all those women trying to be their friend, their children. I
Mhm.
don't understand
Yeah.
you trying to be your child's friend. I don't get it. I don't
Nope.
understand it. That's not the school I
Mm-mm.
attended.
Or why are
You
you
know?
still sleeping in the bed with your mom? Like
Why are
that
you?
is just too
It's
much.
not cute. It's
It's
not
not cute.
cute at all. And these kids grow up to, when you give them in and everything, they grow up to, one, if they're selfish. Two, because they're womanizers and they couldn't get it, they'll go and steal it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You know, or they'll take it. And it starts from home.
Yeah.
It's one thing to care for your children. Oh, you taking care of your children is not designing them in the latest fashions and giving them everything they want and etc. That's not taking care of your child.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's my little 2 cents.
Oh, well, take it, Erica.
Whew. Let me
Yeah,
tell
right.
you. So it must have been perfect for you to bring up this subject right now, because I hope my transparency will help some other single mothers, because I just recently started therapy for this
Mm.
to help myself get some clarity and some skills to be able to communicate better with my sons, to be able to dig deep and remove some blockages that I have myself, because I've set an environment, an example in my household where we don't communicate on a level where I would like us to. And I know it's my fault. I'm the leader of that. And I have two different experiences with raising my kids. When they were younger, we had two parents in the household, so I was able to be more affectionate, more loving, more soft. But then once me and their father divorced and went our separate ways, I had to be the mother and the father. And so I started to raise them out of fear that if I'm not hard on them and if I'm not strict on them, then the world is going to swallow them up, and I'm going to send them out into the world too soft. And so once I got into that role of being the strict disciplinarian, I didn't know how to vacillate back and forth to being the soft mom that they need, the affectionate mom that they need. So I just stayed in the role of being the hard mom, the strict mom, because I felt like they're boys. And if they see any weaknesses, any softness in me, they're not going to take my discipline serious. They're going to run all over me. They're going to see that I have a soft heart for them. And then they're going to try to use that to manipulate me and get over on me. And so I was real strict on them, and I didn't know how to get back out of that. And so that's why I'm working with a therapist right now to help me, because I do want to, once they get to a certain age in life where they're building their own life and they're doing things, I want them to be able to come to me. I want to be their friend at some point, not like when I'm raising you, I don't want you to be my friend. But once you become a man and you're living your life, I want to be able to communicate with you. And I'm not doing that at the moment. And so that's why I'm going through therapy now, to help me get to that point. And some of the things that she's going to have me doing is going to take me way out of my comfort zone.
Mhm.
But I know what I want. I know the results that I want to see. I know how I want my sons to see me. I know how I want my sons to be able to show up in relationships with women. Not to say that I would never think they would be bad men in the relationships, because my son now, he's 23. And it was funny, you were talking about your son with his girlfriend. I had a situation he was dating this girl that, from the moment I met her, I knew she would run circles around him, because he's so kind-hearted, and he's like I was at his age. He's that hopeless romantic. He believes that everybody's good because he's good. And this young girl took him through the ringer, and I could see it all over her. And he could not believe, he wouldn't believe it. He wouldn't believe nothing bad about her. He started getting in trouble at school, trying to fight her battles. He got arrested, for fighting for her. And so I had to go to the sheriff's office to bring him home. And even the sheriff was like, your son is a good kid. I know it's that girl he talking to. I know it's her. He said, because this is the only time I ever even seen him be in trouble is when he got with that girl. And I knew it. And so I just, as being a single mom and trying to raise boys by yourself and wanting them to take you serious, but still wanting to be that soft, affectionate mom that they need, that's just a hard thing to do.
And a transition back and forth.
Yes.
I commend you on that, though. I commend you on wanting to fix it. So that's I like that.
That's huge.
Yeah. And I really do. I see a lot of difference from my older boys, because I have 4 boys. My oldest son is 25. My youngest son is 14. And I can see the transformation from when I had my oldest son until my 14-year-old. I'm a lot more affectionate and present with him now than I was with those boys.
Yeah.
You're evolving.
Yes. I always heard people say that the older kids get a different parent than the younger kids.
Yeah.
And now I see it.
Yeah. I was treated definitely way different than my sister was.
Yes, me too.
Oh, I was so jealous of my younger sister. When she graduated college, she got a car. I was like, I had to buy my own car.
I had to save up money. I couldn't get a phone till I was 16. Like, the list is long, okay?
And they swear the youngest ones swear they had it the roughest. I'm like, really?
Yes.
That's it.
So, the one key thing that I wanted to get to the audience is what Erica was saying, that she realized that she needed help to try to figure it out. And that's a decision that's not an easy one, but we don't always have the answers. And there are people out here that are professionals at helping you figure out how to navigate this thing. Because we want to not necessarily control the outcome of what our kids become, but we do have a part to play. And as we have gotten older in life, and we had the opportunity to watch these generations come and to see the after effects of what happens when things aren't right at home, or the relationships with their parents dictate the relationship decisions they make, and how that turns out. It's not perfect, but to know, like what Erica's doing, that something needs to change is a big step. And I think a lot of people really need to look in the mirror and say, how am I affecting them? Am I nobody's perfect, but what we all realize, all of us here on the screen and a lot of people that's watching, is that those years when we were adolescents affected us. Whether it's good or bad, it affected our decisions. It affected who we dated. It affected some of the decisions we made in our life. And if we could go back, like in my case, I have a 12-year-old. Erica has you have 4 boys. You have an opportunity to change the trajectory of maybe, the 25-year-old, maybe not so much, but that 25-year-old can see you're doing this. And when that 25-year-old is 35, they're going to remember this. So it's a lot. And the bigger picture is, if we have this impact on that generation, then maybe there'll be hope that generation won't be assholes and pulling wigs off and doing all kind of
at 50 years old.
Now, what if somebody would have pulled down his pants?
That's what I said.
Thank you.
That would be a whole nother. I bet you he would feel really uncomfortable, especially if it's cold outside.
Let's see them skid marks. Let's see them skid marks, sir.
But I gotta say,
and they'll understand that real quick.
Apologize. Every time you see me, he is like so remorseful every time you see me.
Tell him you need to buy you some units then. Shoot.
Yeah.
So this won't be the last time that we talk about some of these topics. And like I said, I may do a format and add some men in as well, but I definitely need to do a men by themselves one too. But there's one more thing I want to touch before we get out of here that has been trending over the past few weeks because of Erica's boy Kevin Samuels.
Ain't my boy. You make me punch the air.
And it's something that all of you are familiar with. But he had an episode where the woman was telling him how offended she was whenever men tried to make her or ask her to smile. And he was just like, that's just a simple ask. Why does that bother you so much? Why don't you just smile? Like, why don't you just, like, if a guy asks you to smile, why don't you just do it? And she was like, no, I'm offended that they're even trying to like make me smile when I may be having I may not be feeling like it, or maybe it's the guy. Like, I don't want to smile for you. So I want, and the reason why I'm bringing that up is because this was also one of my blind spots. Because as a man, my knee-jerk reaction was, that's some real slight, like asking you to smile, like whether you smile or not, what's the problem? And then I talked to my wife about everything. So I talked to my wife, and I think I might even talk to you too, Erica, about it. And I want you guys to just, like, for the people who don't understand why it's and it's not just smiling. There's a lot of other stuff too, like catcalling and all that kind of stuff. Like, what it really means. Like, we don't take it in the way that you guys do, and we think it's trivial, but it's really not. So I'll go with Alicia, because Alicia, yeah, you go first, Alicia.
Well, I've been called a B before because I didn't accommodate their requests. But I think a lot of it's a control thing. Like, first of all, for me, you're trying to control my reaction to you. I don't know you. I don't know, I don't trust you. So, like, I'm thinking that you're trying to book me on the slide or having slick conversation because you don't have game. So that's the only way that you can kind of come in and say, why you're not smiling. And half the time, I'm not even pissed. I'm just in my own world, minding my own business, doing my own thing. Mm-hmm. And for you to just kind of like sideswipe me and be like, hey, sweetheart, the sweethearts, that's like another little thing, Hey, sweetheart, hey, boo, whatever it is, looking kind of good. Why you not smiling? It's kind of like that little side. I'm just like, dude, like, at the end of the day, I don't owe you shit. And 9.5 times out of 10, you got a girl. Why are you even in my face?
Thank you.
So if after you've heard that so many times, in your life, the first couple times you like kiki woo woo. After that, it's just like, this is game. You get it from construction workers. You get it from, I don't really see a whole lot of like white collar guys doing it, but you see a lot of construction folks, UPS, FedEx, hate to say it, love them to death, but that's just how they're not doing that now. They're a little different now. But that was nice to ask you to smile. Now they just don't have no game whatsoever. But I really do think it comes from a control perspective, and that's a trigger for me. And it has been, especially when I was more independent, very independent. Like, I need game. I need you to have a conversation with me. I need to be booked. Okay. So I didn't feel like I know booked is an old word, but it really meant something, and it was a whole art to it. And they don't have that. And when you come at me sideways like that, it's like, dude, you're really not even interested in me anyway. You're just trying to see what you can get out of me. So it was just a lack of trust for me.
Right.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
How many times I'm sure any woman out there watching, how many times has a man walked up to you and say, hey, Ma, why you looking so mean? Why don't you smile? I'm looking mean because I was trying to get you not to come over here. I saw you before you saw me, and you still over here trying to tell me to smile. I don't want to. I just stubbed my toe a few minutes ago. That's why I don't want to smile. And I don't have to. It's just that entitlement that men have to feel like when they walk in the room, your mood should change and you should smile at them because I'm here.
The audacity.
Yes. I told you it went on sale last year. They still buying it 2 for $1. It's just it's creepy and it's intrusive to feel like somebody owe you a smile. Even if I'm in the grocery store and I pass somebody in the store and I speak to them or I smile at them, and if they don't smile back at me, well, I'm gonna walk up to them and say, I smiled at you. You better smile back. I don't get my smiles out for free. You know, like you don't have the right to tell somebody how to react to you.
And they really wanted an answer, and they wanted you to fall in line. That was the sad part. Like they're waiting. Like I'm waiting.
Yeah.
The hell?
Anything you want to add, Lex?
Look, I'm nonchalant, so I have tunnel vision. You could be waving high, etc. I won't speak. I don't hear you. I don't see you. Like my mother would laugh at me. She's like, "That guy is looking and trying to get your attention." I said, "Why are you looking at him? Why are you looking at him? Like, don't acknowledge that. I don't.
He's protecting you.
I don't understand. I don't understand. I don't want to talk to him. Can't you get? I don't.
Right.
I will ignore you, and if you call me out my name, I'm gonna either say your mama or
Thank you.
I'm surprised somebody punched me in my face yet.
Right.
I'll be like your mother.
Don't mess with these Gen X's then.
Yes,
Girl.
I'll be like, I'm like your mother. So
right.
I don't acknowledge them. I don't acknowledge them at all. I don't.
Yeah. Tell your mammy to smile when you get home.
Yeah.
They need to start. Look, you can't even throw jabs at the fathers because half of them weren't even there. So it's like that's the only thing that hurts is the mothers.
They mother, right?
You know, because now we kind of hurting each other saying stuff.
Right.
It's a vicious ass cycle, man. We can't win for shit.
Watch one of my sons gonna come home and say, "She told me to tell you to smile, mama." I know you ain't out them streets telling girls to smile at you.
I really think some of that was taught, you know, by maybe their uncles. They saw somebody out. They didn't have any game. They felt like that's the easy way in. It's so terrible.
I'm with you. I need mental stimulation. I don't need.
Yeah, and I had put a post up where I was saying that, like, even if that's what you wanted, like if you're a guy and that's what you want, you could say something like, I hope you have an amazing day today. And a smile might happen. You got a 50-50 chance. Mm-hmm. It's not me giving you instructions.
Yeah, you're doing the backdoor compliment.
Right.
You came around the back.
Yeah, you got, I mean, so we're gonna start wrapping up, but I did want to just kind of bring it full circle. For the people that's watching, because what I really want is for the women that are watching to send this show to the men in your life so that they can hear it from someone that's not you. Because sometimes people shut their ears off when it's somebody they know. Let them hear it from different women as to like what this stuff feels like and what it shows up as before you so quick to jump out there. First of all, we call women crazy. We calling you this and that. We giving you names and all of this kind of stuff. But we also have the right to walk away from it so that we don't have to be in an environment where we have to call the names. Because then when you call that name, it may be a trigger. Or you could say, can I help? You know, like we have this generation of boys and men coming up now by whatever means where they fighting women and they doing all of this stuff. And I'm not talking about the women that punch you in the jaw and you trying to defend yourself. I'm saying they are literally like punching women in the jaw too, like they grown men, and the respect level is almost non-existent. And we're in this generation now where everybody wants to make sure that the woman is doing the same thing as the man, and the women are saying, I want to be, I'm moving like a dude and all of this. There's no point on either side where there's a conversation, there's communication or respect. So if the men aren't respecting the women, and the women are so sick of what they're dealing with the men that they're not respecting the men, it's a stalemate. Every time you walk out the house, you're like, I don't know which kind of dude this is. Let me make sure that I'm protecting myself, because I know they probably won't. And the type of guy I am and the type of dudes that I surround myself with, they'll all say, nah, that's bullshit. We protecting our ladies. But I think we're probably the minority at this point. And with these new dudes out here, it's disheartening. So the reason why I want to use my platform to do this stuff is because the men that are doing it the right way, we owe it to the other men that are in our circles. We owe it to our sons. We owe it to our nephews to say, hey, man, you got to do better. Because and I believe that, and we both have roles to play. Men and women have responsibility and accountability. Once we change as men and we don't accept the behavior, then the women, both of us, when we both make a stand and say we're not going to do X, Y, and Z, and every time a man comes up to you, you behave a certain way, and every time a woman comes up to a man, he says, you know what? I really want you, but you I've watched you sleep with 10 other dudes. I'm not really doing that. Enough dudes do that, she gonna slow down. We have to take responsibility and have control over ourselves. And I know it's a lot, especially now, because everything's, hit it and quit it, swipe left, swipe right, situationships and all of this. But
here's something.
It's like, what did we? I know, like y'all said earlier, like it's gonna get worse, but
it's already worse. Like I just think, like something as simple as me going to Target, I pretty much know the whole damn crew in Target, okay? And it's certain people, certain men specifically, just don't speak first. Like if I don't speak to them first and just be courteous and say hello, how you doing, whatever, then I won't get spoken to. And it's like it's a whole nother level of, and some of them are younger, I would say like in their 20s and 30s, and some of them are grown ass men, like who still feel like you need to be talking to them first. I'm like, hello, no, chivalry ain't dead over here. It may be dead where you at. You may not know nothing about it because you wasn't trained or brought up on it, but that's and it doesn't have to be like full blown, but just basic common conversation. Just you walking right past me, you looking dead in my eyes, and you're not saying anything. I mean, we got on masks now, so I'll be trying to like hold myself and not say nothing because I'm naturally just be speaking to people. But like these people are rude as hell. Get out of my face.
Here's something I thought of too, Derek. If we can kind of gauge where the protection of Black women are by the way that men are conducting themselves, because a man would think twice if he felt like there was going to be some kind of repercussions for his actions. Like you might approach the wrong woman and she got a slew of brothers who going to come right behind her and handle that for her. But for most of these dudes who feel bold enough to disrespect women, they already know in the back of their head, ain't nobody going to check me about this. Ain't nobody coming for me over this. They probably gonna tell her or ask her, well, what was you doing in the situation for this to happen? And so they don't feel like no consequences are coming behind that. And so that shows you where the level of protection is, because men don't feel like there's no consequences.
It's so funny that you say that, because I don't know if you watch Married at First Sight. Do you watch that? So do you remember when Paige's brother was talking to her about Chris? I really felt that she was not even being protected by her brother.
No.
Like even not even necessarily in the physical, but just the initial dialogue that he had with her was kind of like, what? Or he was just really like dry with it. And I'm like, for someone to have dragged me the way that they dragged me on this show, and you're my brother, and you were acting like that's
it's nothing.
Like it's okay. I mean, he couldn't even console her. He couldn't even he didn't do anything in that conversation. That really, and that was weeks ago. But that's something that when I think about what you're saying, you don't even have, the brothers that are around, a lot of them are not doing that anymore. They did back in the day. They're not doing that. They're not even built to do that now.
Exactly.
Because now you got the police brutality thing that's going on. You don't want to get ganked up by the cops in the middle of it. You don't want to face any consequences. Some stuff, we're not treated fairly. So they think about that. And then half of them are just punks. They've been in front of PlayStation and Nintendo when they were two, and they don't even know what it really means to fight.
Exactly.
So like we're not protected.
So we gonna wrap it up. We gonna wrap it up because I know folks got stuff to do, but we'll revisit some other topics and
Part
and
2,
bring some
3,
more.
and 4.
Yeah, right.
Part 2, the men.
There's a lot of topics that can be discussed. So the discussion will continue. And I thank everybody on the panel for coming. Alicia, Lex, Erica. If you guys we'll start with Lex because I know Lex got to go. Any last thing you want to say? Matter of fact, let's do this, ladies. Any last things you want to say before you leave to the men out here?
We just gotta do better. We gotta do better. We still love you. Just gotta do better. we can break that cycle.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Break the cycle. Erica?
Protect us. Treat us like you would treat your mother, your sister, your daughter. Treat us all the same way.
And I would say ask questions. Like if really have dialogue, because most of these men are in relationships or in situationships or whatever ship, and they should be able to they should ask questions. Like if you really don't know, just be like, ask the person that you're with, because 9 times out of 10 they've experienced one of these scenarios that we've talked about tonight, if not all, or then some. And so I think just caring enough about asking and really giving a damn about changing the narrative, I think that will be a good start. And really holding your boys accountable when you see some crazy shit pop off.
Yes.
Okay?
Accountability.
Accountability is a big thing, man. Derek and I talk about that all the time. So that would be amazing. Yeah, he's laughing because I'll be on it.
I know you do. So I'm gonna say this one last thing, and then we're gonna go. And I'll have everybody's contact information in the notes. I don't know. Well, let's do this. Alicia, you can tell people where they can contact you.
You can I'm on Instagram and Facebook, but you can just go to AliciaDoveRealtor.com, and that's a Linktree page, which pretty much has all of my contact information. So that's where you can find me. Okay.
Erica?
You can reach me at, I'm trying to think which one. Follow me on Instagram at DopeDiscussions_pod.
Lexi? Or you can say, don't follow me nowhere.
Follow me IG or Facebook at LA Lex or Lexamore.
So this last thing, it just like literally 60 seconds. This last thing I want to say, just to give people perspective, and especially the men, the way that we need to feel about this is as strongly as we feel about police brutality. One of the shows that I was on this past week, the guy said that the way that women look at men, when we're talking about being protected, is the same way that that Black men look at police. When you walk out the house, that anxiety, that fear that comes over you when you see those lights. In a lot of areas that women have to walk through every day, that anxiety kicks in because you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know who's going to bother you. You don't know who's going to try to smack you on the butt or do whatever. And we got fired up about this whole police brutality thing. We got fired up when All Lives Matter came, right? And I use All Lives Matter in a lot of analogies because what happens when we hold men to task or women, we'll say, well, what about the women? Well, what about the men? It sounds just like All Lives Matter. It skirts accountability. Yes, we all got work to do, but if we're talking about women, let's get it in. The men gonna have their day. When you say, what about them? It means you don't even want to have the dialogue. So think about it like that. Like, think about how you felt when All Lives Matter, people was out, All Lives Matter. And you was like, no, it's not about that. It's about this. We was correcting folks. But when it comes to stuff like this, we're like, nah, they did that. That's not, nope. We're not going to talk about it because what about the men? What about the women? What about the men? What about the women? Nothing happens. So let's have this discussion here. Have this discussion in your homes. Have this discussions at your family reunion, wherever you got to have it, because we're hurting each other, and we're not a community. We're not being a community. We're not being a communal like family. Anything. We're not talking. We're not sharing. We're not. We got to fix this thing somehow. It ain't gonna happen to everybody, but if we can catch it, we can catch. Hopefully, that fire gets started and it'll be contagious. So I'm gonna leave everybody with that. As usual, you can go to relationshipgumbo.info, get all the information about Relationship Gumbo life coaching and all the other goodies I have there. And yeah, we're gonna get out of here. Let me see this comment. Somebody has a comment that said, yes, that anxiety is real. I avoid any crowds of men because it feels too threatening. This case in point. So think about that, gentlemen. And like I said, ladies, send this to the men in your life and let them listen to this information, because we have blinders on when it comes to really understanding what you guys go through. So on that note, we wrapping up the podcast, and we will see you next week, same time. Ladies, thank you for hanging out with me tonight, and hopefully we can do this again. Have a great evening, everybody. Stay safe and take care of your loved ones. All right, guys, we out of here. And yeah, that's it. Thank you guys for coming. I appreciate you. And we'll see you next week, same time, same place.
Okay, everybody wants good love, that's true, I know. Derrick Jones about to break it down with the relationship gumbo. Welcome to the podcast. Ain't no doubt we all need this, ayy, cause better relationships need better ingredients, ayy. So if you want better relations, it's about communication, finding love, staying together. We all wanna make it better, yeah.